This is the story of Pythagoras and his theorem. The man, there he is. Pythagoras lived from about 570 to 495 BC. A pretty good life back then. He was born in the Greek island of Samos in the Mediterranean. He had a few different jobs over his life. He was a mathematician, obviously. He was actually an extensive traveler going around Egypt and other places along the Mediterranean, and he actually had his own cult. So not only did he have a school where students would come, but they actually believed in some weird things loosely based on the normal Grecian religion. And he has a lot of influence on actually philosophy. He was the first person to call himself a philosopher, and so he directly influenced Plato, among others. Obviously, in math, he had a great amount of influence. And then beards. So we don't know exactly what he looked like, but he has a pretty impressive beard in all of the portraits that I have seen of him. And so I think he is undervalued for his influence on the beard community. The myth, the Pythagorean theorem. Obviously, the theorem itself is not a myth. There's proofs for that. So what the theorem actually says is, given the three sides of a right triangle, if you square the lengths of the shorter two sides, add them together, you will get the squared length of the third side. And Pythagoras is given credit for this. However, who really came up with this theorem? Well, the Egyptian mathematicians had been using something like this for quite some time before Pythagoras. So they were probably the first ones to come up with it. However, the reason Pythagoras is given credit for it is because he and his school, pictured there, are the ones who came up with the first proof for it. So the Egyptians were pretty sure that it worked all the time. Pythagoras showed definitively that it did. However, it probably wasn't even Pythagoras who showed this. It was probably one of his students, because the practice back then was to give credit to the teacher whenever you discovered something. So Pythagoras got credit probably for what one of his students did. The truth. Nobody really knows who came up with the theorem, but Pythagoras is given credit for it. So really, it doesn't matter, because most people are just going to think Pythagoras came up with it. So I'm sure he's resting easy wherever he is, knowing that he's being remembered right now.